Hello everyone, welcome to the channel. Let me show you in 5 minutes my workflow of creating this character in Blender. First step, inspiration. You need to have a famous person in mind as an inspiration. Wait a minute, why a famous person? Well, you will find many reference images for that person in internet. Step 2, you should include references like anatomy, and this is very important. Step 3, find reference images that inspire you, then upload them into a free 3D tool called PureRef. The idea is to mix the inspirations from that images to get our own character. Guys, that doesn't mean we are able to steal the art from other people. That means we can get inspiration from that images. Also, if you don't have a second monitor, you can print that images out on a paper. Step 4. Let's get into Blender to start creating this character. So, we can start with the default cube, Ctrl 3 to subdivide it 3 times and apply the modifier. Use the hotkey Ctrl Tab to switch quickly between the object mode and the sculpt mode. Apply the geometry on the x-axis and pick the grab brush. For this step, it's very important to focus on the main shape for the head and don't care about the details. We can use a cylinder to create a base shape for the neck. To combine the neck with the head, we need to install an add-on called Pole Tool. In the object mode, select the head and the neck and hit Ctrl-Shift plus numpad to combine the mesh together. In the sculpt mode, hit Shift-R to change the voxel size and Ctrl-R to remesh. Keep that in mind, we need to start with slightly low resolution for our sculpture. As you see guys, I use the grab brush a lot to form the head. Important is to care about proportions in general. At this point, all what we need to do is to turn on the music and start sculpting the face. I like to use the mask brush to create the eyes quickly. Select the mask brush and draw the eye just like that. Ctrl-I to invert selection. Select the move tool and push the eye back just like so. Hit Alt-M to clear the mask and add the eyeballs. We can sculpt the ear separately and then we can go ahead and combine the ear with the head. I like to use snapping in Blender to create the eyebrows. Just make sure to select face, project individual elements, and to turn on this magnet icon. Now it's time to add a mirror modifier, a subdivision surface modifier, a shrink wrap modifier, and select a target for the shrink wrap, and a solidify modifier. Okay, cool, I get it. What is next? The next step, ladies and gentlemen, drum roll, ray topology. I know guys, many of you hate this process, and me too. But if you want to create characters, you need to ray topology the mesh. I use the ReTopoFlow add-on, which is an paid add-on. Believe me or not guys, this add-on can save you a lot of time. Wait a minute, if you don't have this add-on, that doesn't mean that you can't retopology the mesh in Blender, because there are many free retopology add-ons for Blender. Or we can retopology the mesh manually in Blender without any add-on. After the retopology process, we can add a multi-resolution modifier to add the high details for the character. As you see, I use the mask tool to draw on the surface just like that. Select the mesh filter tool and change the filter type into inflat. Drag the mouse cursor into the right to inflat. Hit Alt-M to clear the mask and change the filter type into smooth. Drag the mouse cursor into the right to smooth. Now we can create extra details in the same way that we created the eyebrows. The hair creation for this character, it's very easy and simple. For the eyelashes, you can start with a plane, scale it down, add support loop cuts right there. When you are happy with the shape, Ctrl D to duplicate and start to add the eyelashes manually. For the hair, you can start with a path and a Bezier circle. Select the path, go to Bevel, Object, and pick the circle. Select the path again in the edit mode, hit Alt-S to scale. We can form the mesh as we want by going to the circle, tap to edit mode, subdivide the vertices and start to move them just like that. Select the path, Shift D to duplicate. As you see guys, it's easy to manipulate the geometry in the edit mode with 5 vertices only. It's time to use our reference images to create a new haircut for this character. Keep that in mind, we need to care about the hair flow. What I mean about that is the hair direction. So, well done. Next step, UV mapping. UV mapping is a technique used to wrap a 2D image texture onto a 3D mesh. In this process, we need to mark seams and cut them to be able to draw on the mesh later. As you see guys, we don't need to apply the multi-resolution modifier. We can turn off the modifier from here and turn it on later. So next step, texturing. Add a new material and an image texture. Switch to texture paint and start to add details. You can search for skin color palette. It's gonna help you a lot to paint the skin. So it's time to add details for the mouth and for the eyes as well. To get a better shiny result for the eyes, go ahead and duplicate the sphere and try to push the iris forward just like so. Add a new material, roughness into 0 and push the transmission into 1. For the hair, I created a separate material and this is what she looks like. For the suit, I used Quixel Mixer to create this leather texture. It's time to add a camera, studio, lights and so on. And that's it guys. See you on the next one.